respectful greetings to each one of you. It's a privilege to be in this gathering of very eminent personalities. I must confess that I am an extinguished judge. I retired some 20 years ago, and I didn't sell any opinions, didn't do any arbitration. I claim not to have received even a buy from a litigant or a potential litigant. The problem today is why we are clamoring for changes in political party system, why we want electoral reforms. The other day, a collector in one of our districts in Karnataka was telling me that during a particular election, boys went to pawn shops and bought pawn cigarettes worth 5 or 10 rupees and presented a 1,000 rupee note. The shopkeeper said, "I don't have change, I have about 700-800 rupees. The boys would say, "All right, give that, that's all right, we'll take this note." That's the kind of contempt that people develop for something which is so valuable. And of course that ended up in a big litigation down there. We have one side, we have so much of development, so much of economic growth. In 1994, the National Law School assembled a team to draft something like the Gram-Rudman Act, zero deficit budget law. I was asked to preside over that meeting, and they did draft a bill. I raised some objections that zero deficit legislation is all right for the United States, but for development in the country, for education, healthcare. So they put up a note saying that this is permissible only in order to enable expansion of education and preventive healthcare. Today, our reports say that we have 6% deficit, and the 6% of the GDP is the deficit financing. That would amount to about 6 lakh crores of rupees. And if you divide it by 365 days, some journalists said that would amount to a borrowing of 1,600 crores rupees by Government of India every day. It's all right if you have so much of money, it's so nice, but what happened to the money? What happened to poverty alleviation? Education. Somebody wrote, Jeffrey Sachs was commenting that the world is no longer divided by ideology, it's divided only by technology. If you want to compete, you want to be ahead of in the scientific world, you will have to have this. You must have at least 1% of the GDP and education. That is, government must have not education but promotion of science. To bring in a scientific temper. If it's 1%, it is 1 lakh crore rupees Government of India must spend on promotion of science. And similarly, 1 lakh crore must be spent on promotion of science by corporates in their R&D. And then you must have at least 18 to 24 age group, 15% to 20% of young men and women in the age group of 18 to 24 in the universities. You might need another 800 universities to accommodate that. And in the political side, we have the Westminster model. R.H.S. Grossman, who wrote a long 58-page introduction to Weishart's English Constitution, he said that the pivotal position of a parliamentary system is the role of the Prime Minister. He also said the increasing presidentialization of the Prime Minister's office. And if the Prime Minister is not an eminent political personality, it is the key position in working the Westminster model of parliamentary system. We have a lot of things. We have modified everything, every institution. But I wonder whether it's really a parliamentary system at all. It may be a better system, maybe that it works better, but it's certainly not the pristine orthodox parliamentary system which John Major once said. The architecture of a parliamentary system is something very, very enduring, but it's not indestructible. If you change the rules, you open a gate here, you open a window here, close a door there, you can't have that architecture if the parliamentary system doesn't permit it. You have these kind of problems which the political parties are, I think, Mr. Krishnamurthy or his successor put out a paper to say that there are about 1,080 or so political parties, registered political parties, and only about 80 to 100 are in the electoral field. The rest of them are enjoying the tax holiday, tax exemption that you gave them in 2004, and some of them, in their accounts you find the bulk of money spent on purchase of jewelry and sarees. This is what they have written. And the election commission report saying, and when they wanted to find out where they were, it was registered office in a tea shop, another was in some other place, unmentionable place. So the kind of thing that is happening to political parties, and it's something which is 1,080 political parties, only 70, 80 or 100 participating in elections, and the kind of out of 100 registered electoral list, 50 or 55 turn up, and a person who gets 12 votes out of the 50 gets elected. He persuades his castmen to have 50% of that 12 votes, and he will buy the rest of 6 votes, and he gets elected. The whole problem is virtually impossible. I think it's a point of time when things have completely collapsed. I recollect, I used to read 5 to 10 pages of Will Durant's Story of Civilization to my son when he was young. There's in the first volume, there is a chapter, it's a small chapter, called The Confucian Politics, in the first volume of Oriental Heritage of Will Durant, in which he says, a disciple of Confucius asked him, what are the 3 essentials of a good government? In fact, gave the answer. He said, first is sufficient military equipment, second is sufficient food, third is the faith of the people in their rulers. He asked him if of necessity one of them must go, which must go first? He said, without pausing to think, he said, it is the military equipment. Then of the 2, which must go then? Then they said, food, that is not unknown to man. And the third, if the populace loses faith in their rulers, then the end of the matter, then nothing can save them.